So I started drinking freshman year of high school. I remember I had my first beer. It was like a natty light, like a can of natty light at it was at like one of my first high school parties with like the older kids, and I remember I thought it was disgusting. But from that point in my life on, never again did I question the role of alcohol in my life. I simply started drinking. I started drinking at parties on weekends, through high school, through college, and I still do it now. But something shifted very recently, which I never expected. For my life thus far, when I heard people talking about being sober, I always assumed like, oh, that's just something that it's not something that I'm ever going to do. I don't think I have a problem with alcohol. I think it's really fun. I don't see myself going sober. It was like this world I saw over there, and I was like, oh, you're sober. That's cool. But, that's not me. I like drinking. um, and yeah, the I would say I drink like a normal American does, like, which, yeah, alcohol is a part of my life, and it has been a part of my life for a long time. And binge drinking on weekends at parties at the bars is very normalized. It's been normalized since high school, through college, into adulthood. I live in New York City. People are out drinking constantly. You can go out every single night of the week, get drunk at the bars, have a good time, go to the club, whatever. Alcohol, it's flowing. It's flowing through our bloodstreams, usually on the weekends, but honestly, all the time there's alcohol. So this is just something that I never even questioned until very, very recently. And it was the LSD again. It was the LSD experience I had again that put alcohol into question, or at least I'm for the first time in my life wondering why this is something that I do twice a week or more. I'm wondering why. I'm wondering why I've never questioned it, why we all seem to partake in binge drinking every weekend, so many of us. In dating, why is it so common? Why are we drinking all the time? And not just drinking a couple beers, but drinking to get drunk. We're doing this all the time. I'm doing it all the time. The LSD made me ask why. Now, something really interesting happened after that acid trip that lasted about 2 to 3 weeks. I woke up the next day and I had no desire to have a cup of coffee. I also smoke weed almost every night. That night, I had no desire to smoke weed. That weekend, I had no desire to drink alcohol. I also had very little desire to pick up my phone and distract myself. This lasted for 2 to 3 weeks after the acid trip. And then slowly I would wake up and I would be like, oh, I think I need a coffee. I think I need to smoke some weed tonight. And, slowly got back into the drinking. I remember within those 2 weeks, I went to the club with some friends, and I was like, this is weird, but I don't think I need alcohol to have a good time tonight. And I started dancing like a maniac without being drunk. And historically in my life, I'm a very shy dancer, and I am self-conscious about moving my limbs freely and dancing, and I tense up and I don't know how to move and I stand on the sidelines. But historically, alcohol will break me out of that, and I'll, if I start getting drunk, I'll start really dancing, really moving. And that's like why alcohol feels so good. It's because it breaks you out of your inhibitions, out of your self-consciousness, lets you just move and act without thinking so hard. That's why alcohol feels so good. But after the LSD, I was so centered. I was so And my whole spiritual journey has been culminating to this LSD trip that I had at the end of December. This all came together with the LSD trip to where I was so centered. I was so in the present moment that even after the acid wore off, I was still in the present moment. I was operating spontaneously from the moment. I wasn't overthinking anything I was doing. I was acting out of the present moment. I was following my intuition. So if I wanted to dance, there would be no reason in that state of presence. There's no reason not to. The only reason you can get shy about dancing is if you're thinking about how you're going to look, you're thinking about how other people are going to see you. You're feeling an instinct. That instinct is to dance and move and have fun. But when you feel that instinct, instead of immediately following it spontaneously, you get into your thinking mind and you start thinking, am I going to look silly? Am I going to embarrass myself? What are they going to think of me? You get self-conscious. You put up your wall. As I mentioned a lot, you put up your wall of self-consciousness. You separate yourself from the universe. You make yourself me over here, and you make everyone else out there other. And you create this fear to be yourself because you don't want to be judged. You do this whole calculation. But when you're living in the present, there's no calculation period at all. You feel the impulse to dance, you simply start dancing. So you don't need, what alcohol does is it reduces that overthinking aspect. It can bring you to a place where you're just acting on your impulses without overthinking them, without getting self-conscious. But LSD brought me to that state, and it lasted 2 to 3 weeks. I didn't need anything else. And that's because it brought me to where my spiritual journey has been bringing me to, which is the present moment. If you are being, if you are living in the present, if you are simply being, if you are simply acting spontaneously, there's no need for alcohol. There's nothing to be self-conscious about. You can move. Your movements are not defining your ego that other people can perceive. They're just movements. They're just movements here and now in the present. They're actually artistic. They're creative. They're an overflow of your being. Only when you're self-conscious and calculating and overthinking do you need alcohol to reduce your inhibitions. And, taking this further to the coffee, to the weed, and the alcohol, it's like the way I started to think was, this moment is perfect as it is. Why do I need a substance to change it? There's no need to change this present moment. This present moment is perfect. The entire universe since its inception has culminated to me experiencing this present moment right here, right now. Why do I want to alter it with a substance? Even a substance as innocent as caffeine. Why do I need to alter this present moment at all? It's perfect. It's beautiful. And I have my theories. Like I think coffee is a good one because we live in a hyper-productive society that values productivity and hyper-productivity and producing more and more and more and being efficient and alert. So when you wake up and you're sleepy, the urge, because of our societal conditioning, is to get that caffeine jolt. There's actually water in this mug I'm holding up, so that we can immediately start being productive and output things and produce and grind and all this stuff. But if we're in a state of being where we just are, where we're just accepting our human nature, then there's something actually beautiful about waking up and being sleepy in the morning, and there's no need to fight it. And I know for many of us, we can't we can't simply allow our nature to unfold because, we got to get to our jobs, we got to make money. But there is a way of being that could be conceived of where you wake up and it's beautiful that you're tired, and you unfold and you slowly energize with the sun and with nature as you're meant to, without the need for a jolt of some kind. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still drinking coffee. I did go about 2 weeks without drinking coffee, which fascinated me. It just dropped away. There was no need for it. There was no effort to quit. It just dropped away because I was so content with the present moment as it was. There was no need to alter it. But now I'm drinking coffee. I'm enjoying it. And, when we're in the rigid models of society, yeah, these drugs really do serve a great purpose. I mean, coffee makes me think more creatively. Alcohol makes me think more creatively too. Alcohol is great for reducing self-consciousness, within the rigid model of society. It's great for that. It's beautiful. Weed is like a mini psychedelic. Weed is like a little bit of access to the truth, just like a very small dose of LSD or mushrooms. In the day-to-day, I love smoking weed and working on my creative work because I think differently. I'll write more exciting ideas. When I'm drinking alcohol, I'm writing more freely, more uninhibitedly. I'm less self-conscious while I'm writing. Coffee is a great creative stimulant, and coffee is useful when you have things you want to do and you need more energy. But when I think about that pinnacle of truth, that pinnacle of being present and not desiring the present moment to be any different than it is, the need for all of these substances, it just dissipates because things are perfect as they are. So I've been really thinking about this alcohol thing. It's like, why am I going out and binge drinking, anywhere from 4 to 10 drinks every weekend night, Friday and Saturday? It's not uncommon for me. What am I doing? Like, why? And I'm starting to have this image that it's like, I'm actually, through the alcohol, you can kind of make yourself enjoy any experience. Like, you can be on a date that's not going that well, but if you drink a lot, if you drink enough, you're going to start having a good time. Same goes for a party. You might show up to the party and it's not your vibe and it sucks. But if you drink enough, you're going to start to have fun at the party. I'm starting to think, like, does alcohol have a role in complacency? Does alcohol play a role in, like, my continuing to do things that don't really align with me? This is what I'm starting to think. I was in the bar the other weekend as I've been having all these thoughts, and since having these thoughts, I've been trying to limit myself to about 2 drinks per night out, which is a big difference from when I used to be doing like 6 to 8. I was looking around at the bar. I was like, what is this? What are we all doing? And I'm trying not to be judgmental, and I've loved drinking and getting drunk for so many years now. But I was in that bar, I was looking around, it was like, this doesn't feel like the truth. This feels like, and I really shouldn't be talking about others. I should only be talking about myself. And I guess what I observed in the bar can only be a projection of maybe the observation I'm about to make is simply my analysis of what I did in the past. So, not with no judgment towards others and their journeys. I was looking around, I was feeling like everyone's just kind of doing nothing. But not in like a not in like a peaceful Zen way, but in like a, I don't know, poisoning your bloodstream so that you can have a superficial moment of fun kind of way. And it's like, and what's unfortunate about it is like that fun and that joy, it can be accessed. It can be accessed in every waking moment if you don't reject it. And I was standing in the bar. I was like, yeah, I could drink a lot and end up like staying here all night and having a blast. But what if the fact that when I'm here sober and it's not aligned, what if that's a sign that this is not my vibration right now? What if the constant drinking and almost forcing myself to enjoy these settings every weekend, what if that's holding me back from a setting that's more truly aligned with me, you know? People, community that's more truly aligned with me. What if the alcohol is making me complacent in these maybe more low vibration activities? You know, I'm interested in revolution. I want the summer of love to repeat in 2023. I think there's a better way of life. And I know parties are really fun. I'm not saying parties aren't fun, but it's like is getting obliterated drunk moving me towards that greater purpose of love and light? I'm starting to think it's probably not. Yeah. And there's different types of partying. Now, this is not a bashing episode. This is just sharing a budding thought. I've been to parties that are so beautiful, so connected, just letting energies flow and be free, and human connection and human dance and art and creativity and love flowing, bouncing all around the party. And it's beautiful. And sometimes alcohol can aid in that. And like I said, I'm still going to be drinking a little bit. But there are other parties that feel like it's just everyone trying to numb themselves, everyone trying to escape like the usual misery of their lives. Taking psychedelics, which I don't do to party. You know, I'll drink alcohol to party. When I take psychedelics, I'm trying to... It's almost as if the purpose of psychedelics in my life now are to show me the truth. I mean, they've changed my life. They've put me... my first mushrooms trip invigorated my spiritual journey. I was on the spiritual path. I was beginning to meditate. But taking mushrooms showed me something that really invigorated that spiritual journey, because I was like, wow, wait, this thing that I'm after through meditation is much more intense than I thought. It's like the psychedelics show me that this spiritual work is for something. And it's like, man, that after that LSD, I was almost like, during those 2 to 3 weeks where I didn't have the craving for any substances, I mean, those were a beautiful 2 to 3 weeks. I was so centered. I was so present. And then watching it slip away was like, like I still have spiritual work to do. I still have study to do, meditation to do, all these things. I'm not totally there yet. And I think I described in the last episode of, it's like I'm getting so close, like, to the light or the truth or pure presence or whatever. And sometimes it flickers and I'm like, am I wrong? Am I crazy? Like, is this... And my ego comes back in and I'm like, is this making me look crazy? Like, do people think I've lost it? And should I just get a 9 to 5 and do all these things the way I was raised to do them? I call it a lack of faith. And it's like the purpose of psychedelics now is to, and you know, I have my eyes set on maybe like a 4 times per year kind of schedule for psychedelics. And I've called them, I've referred to psychedelics as a tool in the toolkit of my spirituality before. I think now what they are for me are reminders of truth, a reminder not to lose my faith, not to become complacent in this aggressive, achievement-driven society. They're reminders to me to believe in love, to live in love, to spread love, to follow my instinct, follow my intuition. I don't know if alcohol is serving such a divine, important purpose. I think alcohol is more like coping, or has been for me. It's been coping with the fact that in society and day to day, there's so much self-consciousness, so much calculation, so much rejection of self and intuition that it's like there needed to be alcohol to cope, to finally have moments of letting loose. But I think what I'm starting to believe in is a life day to day that's permeated with truth, with freedom of movement, freedom of expression, freedom of action, freedom to do what you want to do in each moment. I believe in a life filled with that joy and fulfillment, not just pockets of it while drunk, you know? I want a life that's that fulfilling. So, I don't think that I ever had a insane addiction to alcohol. I was not really plagued with an addictive personality in this particular incarnation. But suddenly, I see the idea of sobriety in this new light, and I see that sobriety is a spiritual question. Everything is a spiritual question. If you have an alcohol habit, it's a spiritual concern. Why are you doing it? Have you ever asked yourself? Because I haven't until now. And I've mentioned this in a previous episode, but it's crazy how many things that have been ingrained for so long, like my drinking. I never thought I would even question it. I'm at a place in the spiritual journey where so many ingrained things are just suddenly poof, like they're either being questioned or they're disappearing or the change is just happening. And it's like, again and again, more and more things that were so ingrained that I didn't even stop to question, didn't even notice were so ingrained, are suddenly being called into question. And it's the process of liberation that is inevitable when you take. It's the process of liberation that is inevitable when you start. Trying to say this nicely. It's the process of liberation of mind that's It's the process of liberation of mind that is inevitable when you take part on a spiritual journey. I think that sounded right. And that's happening to me. And you're seeing it unfold live. Thank you so much, patrons. I love you.